Our first speaker is Dr. Lau, Dr. Cheryl Lau. She's presently a native of Nevada. I'll read her, the little blurb on her as introductory material. Dr. Lau was the Nevada Secretary of State in 1990, General Counsel to the U.S. House of Representatives of the 104th Congress beginning in 1994 and 95. She was a visiting professor at Harvard University, Judge Pro Tempore of Carson City Justice and Municipal Courts, Chair of the National Commission for the Renewal of American Democracy. She is now serving as the Commissioner of the State of Nevada Commission on Ethics. Also, you were a candidate for governor of Nevada. She ran for governor of Nevada as well. Everybody moves through life with little philosophies. One of my philosophy is the difference between the best person and the worst person is almost none. That's one of my philosophies, that we're all about the same. And there's always something that challenges your view on life. And Cheryl upsets me going through life like that because she's exceptionally good as a human being. I've never seen her in the thick of it like us. It's always a right way. It's always a goodness. It's always dignity and humility and integrity. And so I count Cheryl as one of my teachers. And I'm very excited to have invite you up to the podium at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Kaufman, for that very kind introduction. I don't know if you know, but Dr. Kaufman is the CEO and chair of the 12 Gates Foundation, and he has done so much for peace in this world. Well, good afternoon, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here for the session on world theology and the emergence of the Pacific Rim culture. I have to admit to you, I'm nervous. Nervous because this topic is so huge that I don't know whether I can get everything in my allotted time, but I will try. What is world theology? It is a study of God and his relationship to the world. The Reverend Dr. Moon told us that world theology is knowing God to all world peoples. He implied that theology is a divine drama of the ages and is the answer to our deepest needs. And it is the discipline that helps us to live and understand concepts such as life and love, and lead lives of obedience to the deities we follow or worship. So what do we learn? We learn about critical thinking. We learn about clear writing, problem solving, and how to analyze social and historical trends. Dr. Moon says that the importance of theology helps us to hear and understand the Scripture's message. Now, in world theology, one is presented especially with the influence of Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, among others. Each religion is a particular expression of one in the common world of theology. Each religion is centrally concerned with the same basic attempt to define the meaning and the purpose of human life and to comprehend a spiritual reality. Each is a culture-specific expression of a universal religious phenomenon and the differing conceptualizations of the spiritual. Now, these religions can be understood as symbolic expressions of one spiritual reality, which transcends the bonds of any one religious expression. And these religions should be considered mutually complementary rather than contradictory. And the world has tried to integrate the religions in a systematic manner in order to arrive at a common world theology. Well, it hasn't worked that well. The concept of a global theology has begun to move away from the classical Atlantic centrism. It appears that in some of the European and Middle Eastern areas, a trend began whereas religious persons began to consider their own religions as more important or superior to other religions. And religiocentrism means religiously based sentiments of exclusiveness beliefs that, for example, one should marry within one's religion, work with members of one's own religion, prefer members of one's own religion above all others. And these believers feel that after their religion has a definite outlook on its own value in relation to that of other religions, and believers do not tolerate other religions. Rabbi Heyer from the Simon Wiesenthal Center in New York mentions that many Jews dare not wear their skull caps in certain areas of major cities in Europe for fear of an anti-Semitic attack. Unfortunately, such attacks have occurred very recently in North America. In December 2019, a pair of anti-Semitic terrorists attacked a kosher grocery store in Jersey City, New Jersey, killing 3 people. And on December 28th, the last night of Hanukkah, another attacker broke into the home of a rabbi in Monsey, New York, and stabbed 5 people. Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn have been the targets of almost daily incidents of physical and verbal abuse over the past several months. Yet, on the first day of 2020, some 90,000 Orthodox Jews gathered at New Jersey's MetLife Stadium for a celebration for the completion of the Talmud, the basic of Jewish law. And for 90,000 people to be able to celebrate the Talmud, this would not have been imaginable in some countries. In the Pacific Rim, there appears to be an absence of religiocentrism with a marked toleration of other religions and a mutual borrowing of influences. But it would be a mistake to write off the Atlantic influence at this time. What will the transatlantic relations with the U.S. look like in a world focused on the Indo-Pacific Rim? When America's urgent foreign policy worries involve smoothing over Japanese and Korean spats or facing down China in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea, just how relevant will Europe be? Well, the French say that they are a Pacific nation, basically because of Tahiti and some other outposts. Yet it takes more than a few islands to make one a serious factor in Pacific politics. Militarily, the Atlantic nations and NATO don't appear to play a large role in the Indo-Pacific zone. The memories of colonialism are too strong, and many Pacific Asian countries see the slow growth, high regulation of the European model as something to avoid. Yet, as China looms larger, it appears that a new transatlantic consensus is forming. Germany may vote to block Huawei from Germany's 5G rollout, since it is believed that Chinese companies cannot be trusted with German data. And many Europeans sympathize with Hong Kong's democracy movements and are horrified by Beijing's treatment of the Tibetans and the Uyghurs. During the Cold War, America's main focus was on Europe, but Japan and South Korea were important allies, without whose support and counsel the Cold War would have been much, much harder to win. If enough Europeans share U.S. concerns about China, the Western alliance will remain a vital force, even as the world's political center of gravity may shift to the Pacific Rim. Now, the Pacific Rim countries have experienced major economic change and growth to become components of an economically integrated trade region and continue to gain strength in the global economy. And these countries are seen as an engine of global development. Reverend Dr. Moon recognized this trend and completed a circuit of the world where he studied all religions. He knew that Jesus was sent to save all people. And when Dr. Moon toured the Pacific Rim region, he knew that the future of humankind was rooted in the Pacific Rim. Well, why is that? Since reflecting on the development of human civilization, Dr. Moon had made it his study to determine what the principles of theological restoration were and how civilization can bear fruit. He then determined that the future of humankind lies in the preservation of the Pacific Rim region, centering on the United States. And the Pacific Rim culture consists of the history, language, and art of the diverse nations and states along the Pacific Ocean. And these nations and states include Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, Polynesia, Micronesia, Melanesia, Australia, New Zealand, Chile, Mexico, coastal western South America, the coastal western United States, and Hawaii. Reverend Dr. Moon visited Hawaii many times, and North Korea in 1991 to help end the Cold War era. And he knew that China and Russia were pursuing their interest in the small island nations of the Pacific region. Dr. Moon felt only that when peace and security are settled in the Pacific Rim, can peace for all humankind be guaranteed. And he viewed the Hawaiian Islands as the center of the East and West and a melting pot of Pacific region peoples. This is probably why Hawaii has the East-West Center in Honolulu, which promotes cooperation among the peoples and nations of Asia, the Pacific, and the United States. And the center helps to strengthen relations and understanding between the East and the West. I can see what Reverend Dr. Moon was referring to when he felt that Hawaii was a center between the East and West theologies and culture. I was born in Hawaii, and it's a good thing you don't have any Hawaiian music because I would do the hula for you. But I was born in Hawaii. I grew up in a Chinese-American family, and my parents taught my sisters and me about strong Asian family values. These values include harmony, benevolence, righteousness, courtesy, wisdom, honesty, and filial piety are like many of your family values. And the family is key to the Chinese civilization. Under Confucianism, the family is important as that of a nation or the world. And capable people would first take care of their family, then they could manage the nation to prosperity. The Chinese family provides a strong sense of identity and a strong network of support. In Confucian thinking, the family contains the most important relationships for individuals and form the foundations of all Chinese social organizations. Yet, my sisters and I commingled these teachings with living in the United States and being American. We weren't taught the Chinese language, though my parents were bilingual, because English was our main language. Yet, I understand Cantonese. It's a Chinese dialect, and I could always understand enough Cantonese if there was some juicy gossip that Mom and Dad were talking about. I could understand that. In Hawaii, my friends, classmates were of Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Hawaiian, Samoan, Filipino, and many other Pacific Asian ancestries. And when I attended a university on the mainland, I initially had a little problem. I had these dates with Caucasian classmates, and I had a difficult time telling them apart because these great dates of mine all looked the same to me. But I got better at it, and my husband is of German-Dutch ancestry, and I can certainly tell him apart from others. After college, I returned to Hawaii. I was employed at the Hawaii Curriculum Center, an affiliate of the University of Hawaii. And I brought with me my family values as well as what I had learned at school and with Dr. Moon's teachings. I now live in Nevada, and I continue to use my family values and the teachings from Dr. Moon when I became the Deputy Attorney General, Secretary of State, and the General Counsel to the House of Representatives. Do you remember Newt Gingrich? He spoke yesterday, gave congratulatory remarks to the founder, Mother Moon, of the Universal Peace Foundation. Well, I work in the House of Representatives, and he is the only speaker that brought peace to Congress. Now, Reverend Dr. Moon chose to spend American vision to face its Pacific horizons, the emerging future. As he strove to propel the American vision to face the Pacific Rim and hosted many summits and meetings to talk about this vision, he combined free speech with a safe space. He reconciled these two ideas that have come recently into conflict within academia. In his teachings, which centered on peace in the Pacific Rim, he gave us an intellectual intimacy, which improves our judgment and makes us more humane. He gave us a safe enough space, speech, and civil disagreement, and this model demonstrates what can spill from these meetings into life. And here we are in Seoul, South Korea, compliments of Reverend Dr. Moon, Dr. Jahan Moon, their family, and the Universal Peace Federation World Summit. Reverend Dr. Moon, in a 2007 speech in Hawaii, commented that God's providence has spread from the Atlantic area and the North American continent and has blossomed in the civilizations from South Korea to Hawaii and to the West, the Pacific Rim. He reiterated that we move and that we must pool together, centering on God's ideal for peace. We have been given a gift that reiterates that the future of humankind is rooted in the Pacific Rim. The role for all of us, America and the UN, is to support the Pacific Rim, thus bringing together the nations of the Pacific to preserve and defend this region. Are we ready to help Reverend Dr. Moon and Dr. Jahan Moon realize their dreams to bring together the nations of the Pacific and to preserve and defend the Pacific Rim? Are we prepared? Absolutely. We all have a responsibility to protect and save the Pacific Oceanic Rim, which will protect all of us. Thank you very much.